a way to have refs on the course so the cards don't have to call rule breaking, I think that's great. Maybe not every single hole, but I think every now and then there should be somebody like who's watching the card as the like ref, because I think it's what sport do you have to be a competitor and an official at the same time? Like I
How
just
does golf? How do they do golf?
they've got someone out there watching.
Yeah, because I think that would just be an insane amount of like volunteers or staff or whatever. Because I don't know in golf how often you hear about the amount of tournaments that go on. So just for like regular people to do golf tournaments. But in disc golf, there's a tournament literally every single weekend, and there's multiple tournaments sometimes. And if you had to have refs for every card for every tournament, there would not be able to be enough
So I'm not
tournaments.
saying every single tournament. All of these arguments that I'm making are on the pro side. On the am side, that's different, right?
But how can you regulate one level of players and not regulate the others?
Because it's easier to I mean like the pro tour, okay, let's say this. What's more important? The pro tour or a random C tier in Bartlesville, Oklahoma? Sorry, Bartlesville.
But is it still sanctioned by PDGA?
That's a good
Like,
response.
does your
That's a good
ratings go
response.
up from it?
Um I guess it's more feasible to do it on the pro side. It's too
Even
difficult to do it for every single tournament going on, or maybe you just have a because there's a staff to run a tournament. In order to run a tournament, you have to have a TD and like two or three folk who volunteer or it's their job or whatever to know the rules and let's say one is the front like six or whatever and the other is the middle six and the other's the back six and they're just kind of walking around watching cards making sure no rules are being broken or anything or maybe they're making calls on OB and things like that. I think that would be possible.
I don't think it would work. Even if you do only pros, the amount of tournaments that happen like every weekend across the nation, like that is an insane amount of people that would need to be on cards.
If you only do
And
pros, there's only one pro tour.
well, what about people that play in pros? Like the tour is its own thing, but
Yeah.
there's tournaments every single weekend that are pros, like pros are playing in. Like
Yeah.
Paul Macbeth can stay home and play or in Virginia and play a tier in Virginia, and it's a pro tournament. Like he's still playing in the pro division, and it's a
Yeah.
pro tournament.
I
So you
mean,
would still have to regulate it with the same refs. You can't
then
regulate a pro tour differently.
then that'll just take me back to the when you decide you're going to run a tournament, you have to have two or three other folk who are able to watch over. You have
Over
to
an
have
entire a field of pros.
yeah,
That
that's cannot
sometimes
be that hard.
some cars like there's like 90 plus
Then
in
you
like
add a
pro
couple
division.
more folk. I think it's
It
possible.
I don't think it would add enough for the amount of hassle and logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
What would the benefits be?
I the only thing I could think of is a stroke here and a stroke there. Like I don't
But you're playing
maybe nothing happens. Maybe
you're
all of
playing
that
with
work
your
and nothing happens.
competitors. Like you're playing with your competitors. I could see if it's something else where like it can be more like rigged, but like you're on a card with three other people that want you to lose. They don't want you to lose, but they want you to win, and they want you, if you're going to win, you need to do it correctly. Like
Mhm.
your own card isn't going to let you get by with breaking rules. If there's something that's obviously like you're doing wrong, like they're going to tell you because they're not going to let you win by cheating. And if you add a ref, it's one person. But then if the ref is, I guess there's more room for like corruption or something. Like if somebody wants to pay off a ref, that's one single person that can be paid off. Or if they're biased, if they're pro like Paul Macbeth or something, and they want to call football, it's like this is a huge problem in like football. Like
Whoa.
half of the time I watch football with people, it is hearing them complain about the calls that the refs make.
That
The
should be
rest of the
such an
time,
idiot.
that is like all football is to me. Every time I watch football with other people, it's like, oh, that ref is an idiot. Oh, that ref is that they're getting paid off by the other team. That
That's
is
all
like,
sports.
well, mainly all sports, but football is the worst. I
That's
swear.
because they're idiots over there, all right?
Yeah. And so you
Idiots.
want to add refs to like a card where they can be also idiots and they can like have their own perception of what a football is. Because everyone is going to
So
have a different idea of what a
okay.
football or
Okay.
out of
So
bounds.
I think there's a clear definition of what a football is, right? So the refs to in order to be a ref, you have to have some sort of qualification, gone through a class, just like all the just like literally all the players that we heard on our last episode, where they have to go through a class, pass a test,
Yeah.
whatever. And like other refs in football, baseball, whatever, you get training and like you have to understand the rules. So like you can't be like, oh nope, that wasn't a football, I didn't see it. I mean, I guess you could, but like if you do that, then no one's gonna have you be a ref anymore.
That's
um
literally football, though. Like, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think there's as much corruption. I don't Okay, here's the
Not
thing.
even corruption, but just people being upset about the calls because the
Everyone's
refs are
going to be
making.
upset if your team doesn't get the call, you're mad. If your team gets the call, you're happy. So like apply that to anything. Like I'm never going to be happy when my team doesn't get the call. I'm always going to see it in my favor. It's not possible for me to see it in the other team's favor.
So you've never been like, dang, like that was the wrong call, like, and it benefited your team, but you're like, that was not the right call. Like, I totally get what you guys are saying.
Oh, I have. But I'm not going to
Because,
complain
yeah,
because
but
it worked
like
out for me.
they all get the same training on being a ref, but then every single person is different. They all have their own idea of what the rules like. They all follow the same rules, but they all have different ideas of what they can be and what they're going to call. There's more conservative and more like open refs, and it would be no different in disc golf. And people would be like, oh, I hate playing with this ref, he's horrible, or oh,
Yeah.
I hate playing with this guy. As opposed to, you play with, your card is going to be different every single round you play, and they're all technically refs per like they're taking their tests and their qualifications. So like it's always going to be the same like set of rules, but it won't be like one specific person calling out on the rules.
So, okay, couple of things. First off, have you ever called anyone on a rules violation in a tournament or sanctioned league or anything like that?
I told them afterwards, just
So
because
then, so if you told them afterwards, what good does that do in the round? You know what I'm saying?
because it was a 10-year-old kid.
I know, but I'm saying like let's assume it's not a 10-year-old kid. Let's assume it's like someone like me, right? Would you tell me in the middle of a round that I foot faulted? Would you
And an
call me?
official,
If it's a PDGA sanctioned tournament and I foot fault, are you calling me?
if I see it,
That's the issue. What if you're not paying attention? What if you're trying to not focus? What if you let's say you just made an awesome putt, right? You just hit this 50-footer, got a bird, feeling good, you're going back to your bag or whatever, and I step up to putt and I football and you don't see it. Or let's say somebody else calls me, but you can't second it because you didn't see it. But if you have a ref there whose job is to watch what's going on, they will always see it. That's, I
yeah,
guess,
I
where
just
I'm coming from.
like, I get it and it's a good idea, but I just don't think you could do it. You couldn't make it happen.
Yeah. I think just another thing is like, I'm kind of like you. Like, I'm probably not going to call somebody on a rules violation because, like, I don't know. Do you ever feel that, like, I don't want to be that guy? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to turn this from a fun event to oh, I guess we've got Strickler Q over here or whatever. Like, do you have any of that mindset when you're thinking or not thinking about calling someone?
Yeah, that, and then also just the fact that like, oh, it was, like it was probably an accident, like it wasn't intentional. Now, if you have somebody doing it like every single
Yeah.
shot, then I'm like, no, that's crap. Like, we're gonna call them out on it. But if
Yeah.
it's like, oh, they accidentally slipped or they did something, I feel like the person, like they're not gonna intentionally be cheating. There's no need to be like focusing on like seeing if they're going to football, just watching them. Because then I feel like you're probably going to get them at some point, just in a single round.
Yeah. Like, okay, I don't want to stick on this topic too long, but I just am having fun exploring this. Like,
Yeah,
let's
it's over.
say,
Yeah.
what'd you say?
I said that's gone. Like we're on this topic now.
Yeah. So let's say I throw a drive. Let's say what is that hole? Do you remember at the Keeper of the Chains at Oak, where I went out of bounds like 3 times in a row? It's kind of like a peninsula before you get to the river. Is that like 10 or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 10.
Can you describe that hole for everyone listening? Because you'll be able to describe it better than I can. It's kind of like
Yeah.
a V almost.
Yeah. So it's like a slice of pizza, and
Yeah, that's a good way.
the basket they have it at long, and it's at the tip of the pizza on the far end, and so
Not the
at
crust.
the nope on the sides of the pizza it's out of bounds. So to the left there's a road and it's out of bounds, and to the right equally like same distance is a sidewalk which is out of bounds, and those pretty much meet at the very top, and so behind the basket is out of bounds. So, and the basket's just at the end, so it kind of closes up as you go towards the basket.
Yeah. So let's say I throw my drive like 100 feet or whatever, and then it goes straight out of bounds into the left road, right? And I go find where I thought it went out of bounds, and I'm like 25, 30, 50 feet further than what it really was. Like, do you say something? Or do you just be like, yeah, that's fine?
Like in a legit tournament?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like if you try to cheat and put it farther than it was.
But like, what if I'm not trying to cheat? What if I just thought that's where it was? Like,
I mean, that's where
I guess you can't ever tell if someone's trying to cheat.
you ask everybody, and you're like, "Is this where you guys think I went out?" And if everybody agrees, then that's the consensus. That then you're taking the opinion of 4 people versus the opinion of one.
Yeah. So let's say I'm like, hey, I think this is where it went out. And then like the other 2 guys are like, yeah, that's fine. Are you going to be like, nah, dog, it's definitely 50 feet back?
And if it was actually 50 feet back,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I guess I would say it's probably farther, or it was farther back,
Yeah.
and then you'd see what they say. But if they don't agree, then you have to go with like the majority.
Yeah, you have to go with the group consensus. Yeah, I was just wondering because I think there is a small dynamic where it's like the dynamic of the card, the vibe of the card. You don't want to like be known as the guy who's like all about the rules and like we'll call every little ticky tack thing, but also like trying to officiate the game is like difficult. So I don't know. I guess that's why I think like in certain cases I do see the argument of why there should be an official, because if it's their job to watch what's going on in the hole, almost like, you know how some spotters will literally like mark where the disc went out, like that, maybe that's what the official does, or I don't know, whatever. I just think the idea of an official is not a bad one, and in certain instances can definitely help.
Yeah, my big thing is you couldn't just do it just for like the top tier pros, at the top level. If you're going to do it for the pros, you have to do it for the pros, and you have to do it for the AMs. Like the only difference between the AMs is like they don't want to play at the pro level, but it's the same. They're playing the same rules. They're playing the same game. If you're not going to have officials regulating the game of the tournaments for AMs, then they're playing an entirely different sport. They're not playing disc golf at that point if you have officials on the pro side.
Yep. Thank you for listening to the Chain Clankers podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chain Clankers, and hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us from so you never miss another episode.